Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vicini. We are presented by CLNS Media. Today on the show, we've got good friend of the program, Jeff Goodman, on the line. Jeff, how's it going, man? You've been in the news recently.
Yes, I guess I've been in the news, and the biggest thing really is the fact that I blew out my knees. So I've been couch ridden for like the last 4 weeks, and I'm hoping a week from now I have an appointment to try to get some go ahead by my doctor to actually put weight on my left leg, because it really sucks not being able to put weight on your left leg for 6 weeks.
Can we get a full breakdown on how this injury happened real quick?
Yeah, it's very simple. It's called a guy in his 40s trying to play softball like he's in his 20s, diving for a ball. I was playing the infield, going back in a ball. Outfielder came in, clipped me. I fell on my knee. I've done it 100 times, tried to get up, was like, something's not right there. And I tore my MCL and my the same injury that J.J. Watt had last year, but didn't require. For me, I didn't have surgery, which is a good thing. Tibial plateau fracture. So,
oh my God!
I think my playing career is over, and I think now I've got to relegate myself to the elliptical, which really sucks.
Jeff Goodman, J.J. Watt, basically the same person, is what you're saying.
Same athlete.
Yeah,
right,
same athlete. Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
Really, the news has been that you're going to Stadium. Congrats on that move. As I say to everyone who, kind of gives you all sorts of shit, because people give you shit online constantly, you really can't imagine like a better person to learn from in the industry than you. Like, I've never actually been like even a colleague with you working together for the same place, and you've constantly gone out of your way to help me, and I always really appreciate it every single time. So I'm just always like, get off of his back, because he's really a great dude. So despite the fact that you had to travel to Lithuania to go cover the Ball family for a month, you are just a fantastic human being, and I'm glad that you're going to be hopefully happy at Stadium.
That is the key. The key is, as you get older, I think you learn, and you're not nearly as old as me, and I think you've already learned it. The key is to be happy. And if you can be happy, you should be. We got into this industry because it wasn't really a job. Yeah. And that's the key for me. I think I'm going to be happy because I'm going to have the autonomy, the ability to write again, the ability to kind of do what I want and pick the stories that really matter to me and go dig deeper into them. Even if it's on video, than 20 seconds, and being able to actually give my opinion, which is something that ESPN, frankly, and I had a great time at ESPN. There was some unbelievable people, and I learned a lot. But one of the things was, if you're a reporter, they want you to report. They don't want you to really give much of an opinion. And as you know, from being around me as much as you have, I do tend to have my opinion and share it, or I like to share it.
Well, let's get into that, because this is going to be fun. Who is the number one player in this draft, Jeff Goodman?
Yeah, I mean, it's Deandre Ayton. It clearly, to me, is Deandre Ayton. I thought before the season it was either Deandre Ayton or Michael Porter Jr. With how hard Deandre Ayton learned to play on a consistent basis, I think that took any question away from me as far as who should be the number one overall pick, because he's a physical specimen. And if you put that ticker, it was funny. In October, I sat down with him for a while and I asked him, who do you compare yourself to? And he said Kevin Garnett, and I laughed. I did. I kind of laughed, probably out loud. I didn't mean to. But the bottom line was I questioned whether he had that work ethic and that drive every game, because he didn't show that in AAU ball. So that's where I think he's separated himself now, with all the other skills that he possesses, with the physical attributes that he was blessed with. I don't see how you go any other way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. He's been unbelievable this season. And it's funny, and I think you can provide some context on this, just given the fact that you do a lot of, prep level AAU stuff. I mean, there were, like, pretty real worries about Deandre Ayton for a while there, like, maybe before his senior year, even, like, as a sophomore, like when he was, like, 16, 17 years old. Like, is this guy actually going to pan out? And I'm just really glad that he has panned out, because he's such an incredible physical talent that I just am glad that part of it was that the system had kind of gotten a hold of him for a while, and you never knew who you were talking to around Deandre Ayton that was trying to take advantage of him, was trying to get the most out of him. It was a really weird deal for a long time there with him.
His recruitment was odd. Not a lot of big time. There were a few schools that were after him, and I remember, I broke the story when he committed to Arizona on the air. We did it on SportsCenter, and the other two schools, it was Kentucky and Kansas, had no idea what was going on because his recruitment was that way all along. Like, he just didn't know who was involved, who wasn't. Again, like you said, his handlers changed. His mother, coming over from the Bahamas, she didn't know who to trust. And was very naive to the process and probably still is to some degree. I was looking at a picture of him the other day that I took the first time I saw him, which was he played Thon Maker in an event.
It was Peach Jam, wasn't it?
An Under Armour event. Oh. It was an Under Armour event, actually. It was the first time I saw him, and I looked at his body, and I was like, oh, my God, this kid is filled out. And, again, if I posted it, people go, of course he's filled out. Every kid fills out. Yeah, but this kid, he's a man-child now. I mean, his body, honestly, David Robinson is jealous of this kid's body. That's how sculpted he is now and big and strong, and the way he can run the court is freakish.
Yeah, totally different dude. Totally different dude. The big thing that I keep hearing, because Deandre Ayton to number one seems like a pretty clear foregone conclusion, the thing that I keep hearing at this stage basically is that every pick after Phoenix at number one is on the table right now. It is possible that we see some pretty significant movement throughout the draft process.
Yeah, I mean, I think Sacramento probably is headed the way of Marvin Bagley. And it's weird because, Bagley, I'm so torn on Marvin Bagley. On one hand, I love him because he's productive and you know what you're going to get out of him every day on the offensive end. On the other hand, I just don't know if he's going to be more than that. I think his ceiling and his floor are the closest of any player probably in the top 10. Would you agree?
Yeah, maybe.
No?
I can see that because, I think his ceiling is legit. He could be Amari.
I just don't know if he's not a physical specimen like Amari. Amari could just dunk over dudes. Bagley was able to do that at the college level. He's not going to be able to do that in the NBA level unless he fills out a lot more than he is right now. Amari was, seriously, at 15 years old, Amari, and he was just a man. He was a man. Bagley's not that with his shoulders, with his frame. He's much thinner. So I don't know if he can be a physical specimen. But I really like Marvin Bagley. I really like him a lot. I think he's always going to be a number two guy at best on an NBA team, where I think DeAndre Ayton can be a number one.
Yeah.
And I think we're dealing with a lot of number two guys out of this draft. We built this draft up to be something that it's really good. Don't get me wrong, it's really good. But is there going to be a top 5, top 10 player in the NBA down the road in this draft? I don't know. I mean, Ayton's the guy that you would say probably, if there's somebody, it's going to be him.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with you there. I think it's a lot of number two guys. I think the Kings, I still have this weird feeling in my brain that they're kind of rickrolling all of us and that they're going to take Luka. I don't know why.
Well, Vlade, listen, it's Vlade. It's Vlade. That's why.
Yeah.
Because you don't know, you don't trust them. You don't trust them not to screw this thing up. And I'm not saying going Luka is going to screw it up by any means. I love watching Luka play. I find myself going on YouTube and other things and trying to watch as much as I can of him because he is a fun kid to watch. His game is so different than most people these days, especially most guys in this draft, that you love watching him because he makes people better. He plays with that swagger. He can shoot the ball. Yeah, he's not a great athlete, but that, to me, that's what makes him more relatable, right? I mean, he's not a great athlete, but he finds a way to get the job done. Yeah,
that's a really good point. He's a very relatable star until you see his car, which is incredibly teal, almost blue. Atlanta at number 3 is really interesting. Memphis at 4 is interesting. Again, we don't know if they're going to keep these picks, though, is where I get frustrated from a team perspective. So, let's just talk about the players, I guess, while I have you, because that's a little bit more interesting. Where do you fall on the whole Jaren Jackson thing? Because every NBA person is so excited about him, and I'm excited, but I'm a little bit more hesitant because of the offensive role that he played this year.
I'm with you 1,000%. Great kid, is going to soak things up and get better and work hard, and he's got like that Jason Tatum toughness, right? It's not like, or Al Horford toughness, where it's not like outwardly, but they're like mentally tough and just even keel, and I like that about him. I don't love his form and his shot. I don't love his willingness to want to shoot that ball as much as he does. I think Jaren Jackson, again, is going to be a good NBA player, but I agree with you. I think at like number 3, it scares me a little bit because he just hasn't produced like Bagley, like Ayton. Then again, did he really have the opportunity to produce? Because it was a front line of Michigan State that did not fit together at all with Jackson, Ward, and Bridges. Those were the 3 best players. Bridges was way better at the 4, but he was forced to play the 3. So they're all kind of out of position, and the spacing wasn't right, and it just didn't fit.
Yeah, no, I mean, that situation was really hard to scout throughout the course of the year. But again, like when I look at Jaren Jackson, I agree with you. I think he is going to be a really good number 2 player who's going to be an awesome defensive player. Do you agree with
3? Maybe a 3 guy, Sam. Maybe not even a 2 at the end of the day. He could be a good number 3.
Maybe. But I think that once you take, I think he's the best defensive prospect in this draft. I think he is better as a defender than Mohamed Bamba. And
he's more disciplined. He's way more disciplined.
Way more disciplined. He moves his feet better on the perimeter. There's been this weird narrative that Mohamed Bamba can be a 1-5 switch defender, and I don't understand it.
There aren't many guys who can be a 1-5 switch defender at his size. I mean, let's be honest. How many guys can really do that and switch out and guard point guards? His length allows him to cover and make up ground. And that's what everybody's so excited about with Mo Bamba.
Yeah.
And again, smart kid. I like Mo Bamba a lot, but somebody compared him to Embiid and Anthony Davis. And I'm like, come on, man. Did you watch those guys offensively? I think it was Seth Greenberg. Seth Greenberg compared him to those two. And
it was definitely Seth Greenberg. No. I saw Chris Vernon. I was on Chris Vernon's show yesterday. He posted that to Twitter, and I was dying. I was like, oh, my God, what is happening right now? Right. Yeah, Mohamed Bamba is really good. I mean, he's really smart. He's a really charismatic kid. I think that the pre-draft process has done Mohamed Bamba well.
Of course. We knew it would, right? We knew. Right. And I said that to everybody. I'm like, wait till that dude gets in front of NBA guys. They're going to walk away being like, I love this kid.
Yeah.
I want to draft him today. And anybody who says that doesn't matter, that the interviews don't matter, they're wrong. Because, again, we're all human. These NBA guys, the general managers, are human. And when a kid walks in and you connect with them, yes, you root for him. Yes, you say, I want him in my organization because he's high character. I want him to be around these other guys and help. And that all plays in.
Yeah. No, it absolutely plays in. And let's talk about Trae Young, too, because I think he's another guy that has a really good personality. You can talk to him. He's pretty funny when I've seen him. What do you think of Trae Young at the next level? Because I have so many schools of thought here, and it's so difficult for me to even... I think anyone that's predicting what happens with Trae Young with any degree of certainty is selling themselves a bill of goods.
I cannot figure out how to even rank the 3-point guards of Trae Young, Colin Sexton, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They're all so different. And I think if you talk to NBA guys, literally, if you pulled NBA guys right now, 30 GMs, I would guess somewhere between around 10 of each, which is Young, Sexton, or Alexander as their guy, right?
Yeah.
I happen to like Trae better. I like Trae better because he makes it easier for other guys. He can find dudes, he can set guys up as well as score the ball and really shoot it. And in the NBA, you better be able to shoot it these days. And I think Trae has those two things. Can he guard? No, he can't guard. But Steph couldn't guard at all when he got in the NBA either, and he's become an above-average defender now. So Trae Young wasn't thinking, and nobody was thinking Trae Young was going to be in the NBA next year. They were thinking 3 years. I talked to his dad numerous times about it, and then he'd try to leave after 3. So give him till his second contract, and then judge him on maybe the defensive and the physical end. But the bottom line is the kid sees things, certainly the Colin Sexton and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander don't see.
Yeah, no, that's the big thing with me. I mean, I think that Trae Young's passing ability is one of the most underrated skills in the draft. And whenever you watch Colin Sexton, it's the opposite. I mean, he is not a passer at all. But
the ball. No, he pounds the ball. He pounds. Everybody stands around and watches. And again, he's talented. He's got that burst that Trae Young and Gilgeous-Alexander don't have. But ultimately, at the end of the day, he scares the hell out of me because a year under pure point guard in Avery Johnson, and I don't feel like he got any better in his decision making.
Yeah, I mean, the big question there with Colin, though, is, I mean, you've done this a lot longer than I have. How many more competitive players have you been around? How many guys like Colin Sexton can you remember that had that level of just hyper competitiveness and want to rip your heart out like he does?
Yeah, no, and that's a skill. That's a skill, absolutely. But he's a two guard. I mean, ultimately, Colin Sexton is a two guard. He's not a point guard. He's like Monte Ellis. Monte Ellis, but
maybe
Monte Ellis in terms of like what he is and what he's going to deliver is scoring the basketball.
Huh? Maybe. I think he's going to have to play as like a lead because I think he's going to have the ball in his hands. But like, yeah, it's hard. I think. Let's get into some of the guys you think are underrated, though, Jeff. Who are some of the guys that you look at in this draft and think, oh yeah, like this, this guy is a guy that's really going to, rise from number 15 and onward and be one of the 10 best players in this draft?
I mean, listen, I said it since the first time I saw him, and now everybody's kind of on the bandwagon a little bit. Jerome Robinson.
You love Jerome Robinson.
I've loved him. Yeah, I've loved him. I mean, I've loved him, and I've said it all year. Like, I think when he declared, I remember saying, like, listen, he's going to go 20 to 30.
Yeah.
He's a definite first rounder. He's going to go 20 to 30. And now, by all accounts, he's moved up to where he could go in the lottery.
Yeah, like, I'll say this, like, I was someone that was super high on Jerome Robinson, too, throughout the year. I was right there with you, having him as, like, a top 35 guy, something like that. And I think that lottery is kind of bananas. Like, I really like Jerome Robinson, but...
Yeah, Jerome Robinson's a guy, to me, that, again, like, he had to be a scorer for Boston College, but I think he can be an NBA starter for a lot of years. If he's put in the right situation. And again, there's not much he can't do. He's not a great athlete. Again, not a great athlete, but kind of deceptive athletically a little bit. Mm-hmm. And now that he's proven he can shoot the ball, I'm a big fan. He went from underrated. Now he's probably not underrated anymore.
Yeah. The big thing with him is that he's a really bad defender, first and foremost, like just straight up. Let's kind of call it what it is. And then second, I will say this, like, there are NBA teams that think he's like CJ. Like, they think he is CJ McCollum in the way that he gets to his spots, the way that he is a really good mid-range shooter. I'm telling you, man, like, some people think he's not CJ shooter, but, like, he gets to his spots and he can really pull up now.
Yep, he can.
Like, I don't agree with it either. But, like, that's the name I've heard.
He's an awesome kid, too, Sam. So, like, he checks most of the boxes. Mm-hmm. Again, is his upside as high as some others? I don't know, but he's one that I felt like was underrated. I'm trying to think who else was underrated that I would say, like, I mean, I think Bruce Brown's a little bit underrated. Yeah. Given that we didn't see him, I don't know what he's going to be at the next level, but can he be Marcus Smart, something like that?
Yep.
Maybe.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I'd have, like, damn near close to a first-round grade on him. Like, I really am worried about the jump shot because he told me coming into the year that, like, he spent all last summer really working on the jump shot, and it didn't take this year, even when he was playing.
It did not.
So, a little bit worried about that. Some other guys that I really like Kyrie Thomas. I don't know if he's going to be, like, a top 10 player in the draft, but I think he's going to be a really good rotation player for a while.
He can guard.
One guy that I haven't talked a lot about on this podcast in general is Gary Trent Jr. I ended up moving up Gary Trent Jr. to number 33 on my board. What do you think of Trent? Because I went back and watched tape and I'm just like, okay, this guy shoots the shit out of the ball, and I probably shouldn't overthink this for a kid that's 6'6".
I know it's like one of those where, again, it depends on what day you saw Gary Trent, right? Can he do much more? Can he put it on the floor? He's got good size, and on the right day, you're like, whoa, okay, if he can shoot it like that, why aren't we talking about him, on a similar level as some of those other two guards? Well, again, because he's inconsistent, He's streaky. He can't do much more. He doesn't really guard. I'd take all those other two guards ahead of him. The Kevin Herters, the DiVincenzo's. I'd take Grayson Allen ahead of him. All those guys ahead of Gary Trent Jr. So that's why he gets buried too, because there are multiple two guards in that 15 to 25 range. So he's not going to crack that.
Yeah, no question. What do you think of the Kevin Herter thing? Because there are rumors out there that like he's going to crack the lottery tomorrow.
I love him. Yeah, I mean, I think Herter's a guy that, again, like, he's got good size. He can shoot the ball. He's more athletic than people think. You know, he's a guy that a lot of people really like right now, and he wasn't even sure he was going to put his name in for the draft at the end of the day. I mean, when I was texting with him before the draft, before he declared, it sounded like it was a 50-50 shot to even throw his name in there, kind of like Donovan Mitchell a year ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the thing that I've heard with Herter is like he's like blown away all of his interviews for NBA teams. They all have come across. He has come across, and they've all come away super, super impressed with what he's presented them.
Yeah, I mean he's certainly a guy. Again, those two guards have moved up. Jerome Robinson, Herter. DiVincenzo's moved up. I mean, I guess it's hard. Moved up. Like, it's funny because you hear some people are like, their stocks are their stock. They're not going to move up at this point based on workouts. And I'm like, I get it, but some guys just do. I mean, that is the reality. Like I said earlier, that is the reality of the situation where you can blow somebody away in an interview. You can blow a team away in a workout that maybe hasn't seen you as much. It does happen. I mean, again, it's not like you're locked in. And because everybody's seen Jerome Robinson play 15 times at Boston College, he can't improve his stock through a 1-on-0 workout. He actually can.
Well, it's not even the 1-on-0 workout portion. And like a guy who does this all the time, and I think Fran Fraschilla does a great job at, breaking down basketball and everything. He's a, pretty good guy too. Whenever you talk to him, did his radio show a couple days ago, very smart, very nice guy. But, he always says this, that like, this guy didn't change his stock. Actually, he, he didn't change as a basketball player. Well, of course he didn't change as a basketball player. Mohamed Bamba did change his basketball player. He became a better shooter. But at the same time, like, NBA teams get to know these guys better. They get to actually interview these guys. They get a chance to personally know them on a level that they don't know previously because they aren't allowed to have contact with them pre-draft, and it does change the process. It does change what teams think of players throughout the course of the process, and I think it's silly to think otherwise.
Absolutely. No. Listen, again, I'm not saying they make huge jumps, but you can. Listen, you can change. Mitchell Robinson is probably a good example, right? Like Mitchell Robinson.
That's a good place to close. Yeah, let's talk about Mitchell Robinson to finish because you'll have good insight on him.
Yeah, because listen, there's nobody with more red flags probably than Mitchell Robinson going into this thing. But if he comes in and he interviews well with a team, they may say to themselves, all right, you know what? I sat down with this kid. I got a pretty good feel. I feel good about how I read people. And you know what? I think he's just a naive kid that if we surround him with good people, we hire somebody to be around him, he'll have a chance to have a pretty good NBA career.
Yeah, I mean, like, where would you take Mitchell Robinson as someone who has dealt 31. With him in the past? You take him 31?
31. I would not risk a first-round pick on Mitchell Robinson. I would take him. Whoever's got the 31st pick, and I haven't even looked at who it is, that's where I would take Mitchell Robinson. He's got
Phoenix,
talent.
So you probably can't take him. But like 32. Let's say, Memphis has
32.
Maybe Memphis works.
Yeah. I would, whatever. Take a flyer on him. Throw him. I'm not even sure I'd put him in the G League, because I'd be more scared of that. I would, to me, To me, actually, the teams that should take him, you got to be a GM that like, actually, and I don't know if I want to risk this, but like Danny Ainge at 27 could do it.
That'd be a good one.
I mean, Boston could do it because you want like Brad Stevens around this kid. In that locker room, Al Horford could mentor him. And who cares if they miss on 27 if you're Boston? Does it really matter?
No, but I agree with you that it makes a lot of sense. But if I was betting on Boston, I think that they would just not see him as like a Danny Ainge like type player. You know what I mean?
I'm with you. Yes, I'm totally with you. But again, that's the situation.
Yeah.
That it would be perfect for him to go to a place like that or a place like Golden State that I think's picking right around 27 as well.
Yeah, 28. Golden State was the one that is like, the more I think about it, the more I think it's like kind of funny and like an interesting fit there, especially given that all of their centers basically are like Zaza, JaVale McGee, all of those guys are out of contract now.
Yes.
Jeff, what do you got going on in your life over the next couple of days at least?
I'm just on the couch, got a doctor's appointment, but I'm on the couch a lot, icing, doing all the things my doctor told me to do so I can get to the Peach Jam and be able to get to the Peach Jam without crutches. That's the key, because I'm not going. If I still have crutches at that point, I'm not hobbling around the Peach Jam on crutches.
You are going to Peach Jam. Like, no.
Crutches? That'd be brutal, wouldn't it?
It'd be pretty bad. I've actually never gone to Peach Jam. I'm going to try and go this year for the first time.
The good thing about Peach Jam is if I can get rid of the crutches, it's super cold in the gyms in Peach Jam. So a lot of people actually wear sweatpants even though it's 150 degrees outside. So I could wear sweatpants if I have a brace, and hopefully nobody really knows that I'm a complete, gimp and that I can't really walk. I mean, I'd have to fake the walk, I guess. I'll probably be limping, but at least they won't see this big, bulky brace. So hopefully I'll be good to go, but I'm looking forward to this draft. I don't know if there's going to be as much action trade-wise as we've seen recently, just because these picks hold more value. I don't think a lot of teams are going to trade these picks because next year's draft is far weaker.
Yeah, I'll have you on at some point in the future to talk about next year's draft. I disagree with you. I think we're going to see a good amount of movement in this draft, though. I think that the more that...
I hope you're right.
Yeah, the more that you kind of talk to NBA folks, they're kind of expecting it because there are just so many teams out there, especially at the top and throughout the middle of the lottery, that want to move one direction or another.
Yeah, that's true. Well, everybody wants to get in the top 8. Get in the top 8. If you're not, there's not much of a disparity from 9 to 25.
Yeah, no, that's very true. Jeff, thanks for coming on. We'll talk soon.
Anytime, Tim. You got it, man.
All right. Now we bring in Chris Stone after just a fun conversation with Jeff Goodman this morning while he was on the road. Chris is the NBA draft analyst over at Sporting News, where he took over my old job. Chris is just absolutely the best. How's it going, buddy?
I'm doing really well, getting excited for Thursday night.
It is. I'm so excited for Friday afternoon just because that means I get to go see Gotti, and I just want to see that movie in the worst way. It looks so bad.
Yeah, that seems like a strong play. I am probably just going to check out for a while. I don't really know what I'm going to do, but maybe stay off the internet for a while is my game plan.
My problem is that I can't, I just don't have the brain power or self-control really to stay off the internet because while I don't necessarily get all that outraged about politics online, my brain is outraged constantly about what's happening in the country. So I have trouble staying offline. Yeah, it's just hard, man.
Yeah, that's totally reasonable. I'm gonna make a concerted effort. Maybe just play a lot of the World Cup version of FIFA.
Ooh,
that might be my
good
game
idea.
plan.
That's a great idea. Let's go on ahead and talk about mocking this draft. This NBA draft has been incredibly difficult to mock for me. Do you feel the same?
After pick number 1, I feel pretty confident that everything else is basically a disaster waiting to happen. I am not certain about what anyone else is going to do. Yeah,
that's kind of how I feel. You hear all of the things about the Kings. Then you have the Hawks, who might have Luka Doncic fall to them. And if he falls to them, it makes total sense for them to explore the trade market. If both Bagley and Doncic are off the table at 4, Memphis is going to explore the trade market. Dallas is just kind of sitting there trying to move up for Doncic, but maybe not going to be able to. Orlando, no one has any idea what's going on right now. They've kept things closer to the vest than anyone. And like the rest of the teams are a total mess. You get to 7 with Chicago. They're seen as like a soft landing spot for Michael Porter in some places. And then other places, you talk to other team executives. They're just like, no, we don't think that they're going to take Porter. They kept bringing in guys to work out. Like if they were going to take Porter, they probably would have just stopped bringing in guys.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, like, I think all of this is going to be shaped by what the Kings do at number 2. And I think generally speaking, the most information is out there that suggests that they're going to take Bagley. But that just seems like such a weird selection, given that they continued to pursue some of the Doncic stuff. Obviously went over to Spain to see him and met with him there. Like, I'm not super sold that they're going to take Bagley, and there's a reasonable chance that they take Doncic. If they take Doncic, then the dominoes fall in a completely weird way. I would guess that Ayton, Bagley, Doncic go 1, 2, 3. And then I think that the Grizzlies are just in this weird spot because nobody's been willing to come work out for them. I think Wendell Carter is the only top prospect who's actually gone to Memphis. The Grizzlies have been to see Michael Porter's pro days and stuff in Chicago. And then after that, it's like, do they take a prospect that they haven't had in for a workout that they might not have medical information for? Are they willing to do that? Or do they trade out of the pick? Like, that to me may be the most interesting pick in the draft. Yeah,
like, I think Memphis is either going to have one of Luka Doncic or Marvin Bagley fall to them, or they are going to move the pick to someone that will value Jaren Jackson. But the problem with Jaren Jackson now is that no one below like 7 has seen him, really. Like he doesn't have he hasn't gone and worked out for a bunch of teams. So all of this has just become a convoluted mess where it is very possible that Wendell Carter goes 4 now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's totally in play. He is the one prospect who has shown the Grizzlies some love, and it's interesting because I think that's part of the argument for Marvin Bagley going number 2 to the Kings is Bagley willingly went and worked out there and was willing to give that franchise some love, and it's do the Grizzlies operate the same way? Maybe not, but maybe. And it just seems like a difficult position for Memphis to be in, where they may not have information on a lot of the guys who are available at their selection, and then they may want to move the pick, but can they really move the pick because they want to get off of the Chandler Parsons deal? And I'm not sure that anybody's super excited about taking that on.
Yeah, no one is excited about taking that on. They might begrudgingly take on the Chandler Parsons deal, but no one's going to be like, yes, we got Chandler Parsons. Yeah. Which sucks because Chandler was a really good player for a while. But
sure.
And then, say that this goes totally off the rim and Atlanta trades the pick to Dallas, moves down to 5. I think that they probably just take Mohamed Bamba in that case, just kind of straight up. And then I think that what ends up happening is another relatively simple draft the way this goes. I mean, not simple because I think that no one knows where Orlando's going to do, and Orlando just gets... Actually, no, it's not simple because Orlando just gets shifted into the driver's seat then. And Orlando, genuinely out of all of these teams, people know the least about what Orlando is going to do because they could legitimately... because of the way their roster is right now and because they have new management from last year, they could legitimately go in any direction and people will not be shocked. They could take Shea Alexander and people are not going to be shocked.
Yeah, I mean, he certainly fits the profile for what that front office has historically valued in terms of positional length and size. I think a lot of people initially thought that was a soft landing spot for Trae Young because of the need for a point guard, the obvious value that Young can bring offensively. I think that you could bring Trae Young into Orlando's franchise, tell him to initiate the offense and kind of work off of him with other young prospects like Aaron Gordon, like Jonathan Isaac, and just build from there. And that's super interesting. But Trae Young doesn't fit the mold of what that front office wants.
Yeah.
They've brought in Wendell Carter for a workout. I suppose that he is certainly an option there. It feels like a weird one given the crowded nature of their front court, but there's clearly some interest if they're bringing him in for workouts. And so, yeah, I think that's right. I mean, I think that the top 5 feels somewhat set in most instances, and then maybe it just shifts to 6 where it gets crazy. But maybe the Grizzlies go off the rail and take Michael Porter or do something else up there, and then who knows?
I would be surprised if the Grizzlies took Michael Porter. I will say that. I think that they're either going to move the pick or take Jaren Jackson or Wendell Carter. Dallas at 5 gets a little bit interesting because they did bring in Jaren Jackson, I think in a just-in-case scenario. He does fall, and that just-in-case scenario might actually bear itself out on draft night, it now seems like. Memphis passing on Jaren Jackson for Wendell Carter would be bananas on so many levels. But it seems like that's plausible. And then you get into this like malaise and like crazy insanity that is trying to project number 8 through number 14, something like that.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. And I don't know what to do.
I don't either. There's a lot of weirdness there. The idea that like Miles Bridges options may start at like 14 with the Nuggets is crazy to me. Like, he's a prospect that I have ranked 7th on my board just because I think he should be a really effective NBA player, but I can understand NBA teams thinking like he's probably not going to be a primary creator. He's not going to be a defensive anchor. There are other options available that we like with more upside than him, but like that seems crazy to me. And then, Robert Williams works out again. I think he worked out a second time for the Clippers. And like, does he move up there? Does that bump Lonnie Walker down? It's a very weird collection. And I think one thing is for certain, which is that someone in that range is going to fall, and we're going to get some like relatively awkward green room shots of that player.
Yeah, like the guy that I kind of think that I wonder if he's falling. I guess I shouldn't say I think this, but the guy that I wonder if he's falling is Robert Williams, given that he's not going to the green room anymore, and given that, if Denver passes on him, which if Miles Bridges is there, they should pass on him. If Washington passes on him, which Washington right now seems like they might be in the Zaire Smith ball game right now. Right. Phoenix probably doesn't take him after taking Ayton.
And bringing in Aaron Holiday twice. Yeah, I think that's a big thing. I realized that like 2 days ago and was like, oh yeah, they're probably going to take Aaron Holiday. Milwaukee, I don't think they're going to take a big man with this asset. I don't know why I think that, but I should double check this, but I am pretty sure Robert Williams turned down a workout in Milwaukee.
That would be bananas, but understand.
I think that's the thing that happens.
Yeah. And then like San Antonio could take a big man that like they will just take, I think, whatever guy falls to them. I have Troy Brown, but I would understand them taking Robert Williams. So I have Robert Williams falling to 19 when I have Robert Williams at number 14 on my board. And like I have Miles Bridges falling to number 14 whenever I have number 8 on my board, because guys like Kevin Knox have risen. I'm a little bit uncertain about Lonnie Walker as well. The way that like he could really go like anywhere from basically number 7 to number 16, and I'd kind of get it.
Yeah. I mean, I think Robert Williams makes the most sense to me. Obviously, the tip-off potentially in not going to the green room is an interesting note. I also just like, if you're a prospect who readily admits during the pre-draft process that you need to work on playing harder, like to me, that's a big red flag. And that's something that I could see, like when it comes to decision time, the NBA team sits there and looks at Robert Williams and just says, maybe the next guy, because we know that guy is going to give it 100%. And that just feels like one of those things that could affect last-minute decision-making.
Yeah, I mean, like one big thing with Robert Williams, like you could take that both ways. Like he needs to work harder, and he knows that, or he just needs to work harder, and that's a negative that he knows he needs to work harder and just isn't working hard. I don't really know what to think of that yet and what to make of that yet. He's a really tough one to judge. He has as much upside as any center in this draft, I think.
Absolutely.
Well, maybe not DeAndre Ayton, but like his upside is significant. Later on in this draft, just kind of in terms of where I'm at mocking it, I am struggling with teams like Utah, who brought in basically everyone in the pre-draft process. Indiana brought in a lot of guys. I believe that the Lakers brought in everyone basically in that range. Portland brought in a lot of guys. Portland brought in Anthony Simons twice. So like, what do we do there? Orlando brought in Anthony Simons twice. Shout out to Anthony Simons for not just like hiding. You know what I mean?
I believe he also worked out for the Lakers twice.
Yeah. So, like good for him doing that.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's going to be nowhere near the top guy on the Lakers board, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would guess no.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's right. There are just a pile of teams in the middle of the 20s who have worked out so many prospects, which in some ways is good on draft night when they're able to sit down. They will have the information on all of those prospects, and they will be able to identify, these prospects have obviously gone before. We know this guy, and we can take him comfortably here. But for someone who is starting from scratch and working their way through, picks 1 through 60 and kind of trying to, in the name of this podcast, game theory out how this draft might go down. Once you get into the 20s, like, it's just really difficult to know, because you run into spots where like 6 of the guys that they've worked out are available, and who knows which one of those they have a preference for.
Yeah, no, it's all a guess at this stage. It's genuinely all a guess. Chris, do you have anything else you're excited about for Thursday night?
I am incredibly excited to see who gets traded, and to watch every version of every mock draft just purely go up in flames, because from what I can remember, it's the least predictable draft that I've done, and I think that that's at least going to make for some good television.
Yeah, no, I am ready to get like 6 picks right, if that, on draft night. Like, did you mock drafted last year, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
I would imagine you did pretty well, right?
Yeah, I have no idea. I'd have to go back and look, but I'm sure it was better than this year.
Yeah, like, no idea what's going to happen this year. Absolutely none. Like, the thing we haven't even really talked about in depth yet is Michael Porter.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
I have no idea where Michael Porter is going. Like, I don't think his range is even as high as, like, number 2 or number 4 anymore.
Yeah. I mean, he's certainly been talked about in those positions previously. It's possible he's moved out of those positions. And then, like, I mean, if the medicals don't check out, right, like, there's just a chance that he really takes a massive slide. And that gets weird.
Yeah, I mean, like, if he falls to 12, I think the Clippers probably take him.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, at some point, his value, right, is going to far exceed that pick in terms of risk. But, like, this isn't a situation like the Joel Embiid draft, right, where, well, for one, Porter is not Joel Embiid. Like, he's not as good. And for two, there are more prospects worth taking who you can get more value out of in this draft than there were in that draft. So the kind of fulcrum tips later for Porter in terms of where his value and risk will exceed those below him.
Yeah. The Porter thing is so frustrating to deal with because we're so in the dark on his situation right now, medical wise, because I don't even know how they've handled this. I don't know. I'm very frustrated. There, like, another rumor out there is Shea Alexander is a done deal everywhere from number 8 to number 11, depending on who you talk to. And then or number 8 to number 12, because the Clippers have number 12. No idea on that. And then Mitchell Robinson, the last guy we can talk about is Mitchell Robinson before I let you go. Mitchell Robinson is everywhere. I've heard he will be in play in the starting maybe even late teens all the way through to number 40. I have no idea what to expect.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting as Michael Porter is to discuss from just the perspective of where might he end up due to the injury and stuff. Like, Mitchell Robinson is maybe even more interesting than that, just because no one has really seen him play. Like, I think he got hurt during the pre-draft process, had to cancel workouts, and hasn't been with teams. Didn't play during the season, obviously. I have no idea what to expect with him. I think that whatever team takes him needs to feel comfortable with whatever happened at Western Kentucky and why he didn't attend. I really have no idea what his landing spot will be. And the crazy thing is, he's so talented that even if he goes at 25 to the Lakers, he might be a steal. Yeah,
I mean, the thing with Mitchell Robinson, we talked about this earlier with Jeff Goodman. I mean, situation is the most important thing for him. If he goes to Golden State at 28, or if, God forbid, Danny Ainge would take him at number 27, makes a lot of sense. I think those situations would really cater to him and make him probably just a more ready player sooner to play. If he goes to the Knicks, all bets are off. I have no idea.
I'm all in on Cole's taking him to the Warriors at 28. Just make it happen. Let it all be crazy. I'm in.
Yeah, I don't know. Chris, tell the people what's going on in your life. Tell the people where they can find your work.
I'll be doing draft work through Thursday night and should have an early 2019 board up Friday over at the Sporting News, and they can find me at Twitter at @CStoneHoops.
Go follow Chris. He is a great NBA draft writer, one of my favorites out there. Genuinely, him and Cole, I just continually text with during this entire process. We get through it together, and I appreciate him for his time and efforts in that capacity. This has been the Game Theory Podcast. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, Android, Pocket Casts, whatever. What podcasting app do you use, Chris?
I use Overcast.
Use Overcast.
It goes up to 3x speed.
How do you listen to a podcast at 3x speed?
I do like 275.
How can you hear that?
I did policy debate in college. I've listened to people talk fast literally my entire life.
I mean, like, I feel like the entire time you would just be listening to, like, Buddy Heald speed speakers.
Pretty much, yeah. It's just, like, really fast, and you get through everything quick. It's great. It's always funny, like, when I come on your podcast, though, because I've listened to your podcast at, like, 275, and then talking to you live, it's slower, and I have to adjust.
Shit, like, I talk fast in general, I think.
Yeah.
And Cole talks even faster than I do.
Yep.
Oh, my God. Chris, thanks for coming on. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.